Most older men do not lose their peace overnight. They lose it one small compromise at a time, one excuse, one ignored warning, one red flag they convinced themselves wasn't important. After 60, the stakes are completely different. When you are young, you have decades to rebuild from a terrible romantic decision. But today, you have less time to recover from the wrong choice. You have far less energy for unnecessary drama. And you have significantly more to lose: your wealth, your health, and your hard-won sanctuary. The good news? Experience has given you something younger men do not possess: the ability to recognize patterns. In today's video, we will explore the psychology of self-preservation. We will break down 7 absolute red flags that every senior man should never ignore. Not because every relationship is dangerous, but because the right relationship should bring peace, respect, and trust. Not constant, exhausting uncertainty. Let us uncover the truth. Red flag number 1. She doesn't respect your boundaries. One of the earliest warning signs in a relationship is surprisingly simple, yet frequently overlooked. She doesn't respect the word no. In the beginning, this disrespect rarely looks like an explosive argument. It arrives disguised as persistence. Perhaps she aggressively pressures you to change your weekend plans. She subtly questions how you spend your money. She makes you feel a quiet, lingering guilt for simply wanting time alone in your own house. Or she expects immediate, unfiltered access to your schedule, your attention, and your decisions. At first, these behaviors may seem small. You tell yourself she's simply enthusiastic, or that she is just showing intense affection. But psychology tells us a different story. Healthy relationships are built entirely on respect, and respect begins with boundaries. High-value senior men understand something vitally important. Anyone who refuses to respect small boundaries today will inevitably ignore much bigger, more dangerous boundaries tomorrow. That's why wise men pay incredibly close attention to how someone responds when they calmly say, "That doesn't work for me." If that boundary is met with understanding, trust begins to grow. But if it's met with anger, passive-aggressive guilt, or manipulation, the warning sign has already appeared. And once boundaries are ignored, another pattern often follows. Red flag number 2. Everything moves far too fast. Some relationships feel thrilling because everything happens at blinding speed. In psychology, this phenomenon is often referred to as love bombing. It includes declarations of profound love within a matter of weeks, pressure to make major commitments, talk of moving in together almost immediately, making grand plans that seem light years ahead of the actual reality of the relationship. For many older men, the sudden deluge of attention can feel incredibly flattering, especially after years of being alone or following a difficult divorce. It feels like a second youth. But empirical experience teaches a crucial lesson. Real trust takes time. Healthy relationships grow steadily. When everything moves at full speed from the very beginning, wise men do not automatically assume it is romance. They recognize it as a potential manipulationist tactic designed to bypass their logical defenses. So, they simply slow down, not because they are afraid of commitment, but because they know that true clarity only arrives with the passage of time. A relationship that is genuinely healthy and built to last rarely needs to be rushed. And sometimes, the next warning sign isn't about speed at all. It's about respect. Red flag number 3. She shows more interest in your lifestyle than in you. One of the most subtle, yet devastating warning signs is observing exactly where her conversation naturally drifts. Does she ask thoughtful, penetrating questions about your values, your family, your interests, your goals, and your past? Or does every single conversation eventually circle back to your house, your retirement accounts, your investments, your passive income, or what you own? Let us be clear. There is nothing inherently wrong with discussing finances at the appropriate time. In long-term, mature relationships, financial transparency is completely healthy. But when curiosity about your assets appears long before genuine curiosity about your character, wise men pay fierce attention. High-value senior men understand that real attraction begins with the person, not the possessions. Someone who values you for your wisdom, your kindness, and your integrity will naturally want to know who you are. But someone who focuses primarily on what you have may be revealing priorities that deserve careful, suspicious consideration. That doesn't mean jumping to paranoid conclusions. It means observing patterns, because behavioral patterns reveal intentions far more accurately than promises ever do. And once you begin watching patterns, another important red flag becomes impossible to ignore. Red flag number 4. She completely avoids personal responsibility. Every single human being makes mistakes. Healthy relationships do not require perfection. What they require is accountability. If you want to know the true character of a woman, pay very close attention to how she talks about her past. Are all of her former relationships entirely someone else's fault? Is her story a continuous saga of crazy exes where she is perpetually the flawless, innocent victim? Does every disagreement end with someone else being blamed? Does she aggressively avoid apologizing, even when she is clearly, undeniably mistaken? Maturity is measured not by never making mistakes, but by taking absolute responsibility when we do. Older men have lived long enough and seen enough of the world to know that accountability is the bedrock of trust. Without it, every conflict you have will become the exact same story, repeated with different people. High-value senior men no longer look for a flawless fairy tale. They look for emotional maturity, because a person who has the strength to look you in the eye and honestly say, "I was wrong and I am sorry," is 1,000,000 times more likely to build a healthy relationship than someone who never accepts responsibility for anything. But perhaps the next warning sign is even more dangerous, because it often arrives beautifully disguised as affection. Red flag number 5. She tries to isolate you from the people who matter. Healthy relationships are an addition to your life. They do not replace it. You must pay immediate attention if a new partner becomes inexplicably uncomfortable or irritable whenever you spend time with your adult children, your grandchildren, your close friends, or your longtime hobbies. Sometimes the pressure is obvious and demanding. Other times, it is incredibly subtle. Little, cutting comments about your friends, quiet manufactured guilt trips when you visit your family, repeated complaints that you don't prioritize her enough. Over time, if a man is not vigilant, he may begin slowly giving up the relationships that once gave his life profound meaning, just to appease her anxiety. This is a classic predatory tactic. Isolation removes your early warning system, the friends and family who can clearly see her red flags. High-value senior men recognize this pattern early. They understand that someone who truly, genuinely cares about them will respect and encourage the important bonds already established in their lives. A loving relationship should expand your world. It should not slowly, systematically shrink it. And then comes one of the easiest warning signs to overlook, because many people mistake it for passion. Red flag number 6. She does not respect your fundamental need for peace. After the age of 60, peace becomes an incredibly valuable, heavily guarded commodity. Many senior men have spent decades working brutally hard, raising families, solving crises, and carrying the heavy armor of responsibility. They are no longer looking for constant excitement, and they are certainly not looking for a daily emotional roller coaster. They are looking for stability. If every conversation has the potential to become an argument, if every disagreement instantly turns into unnecessary theatrical drama, if small solvable issues become explosive emotional battles, pay fierce attention. A healthy relationship does not magically eliminate conflict, but it handles conflict with maturity and respect. High-value senior men do not run away from difficult conversations, but they absolutely refuse to live in a state of constant emotional chaos, because they know something that decades of experience has taught them. Peace is incredibly difficult to build and very, very easy to lose. If her presence feels like a perpetual storm, you must seek shelter elsewhere. And finally, there is one red flag that often reveals the totality of everything else. Red flag number 7. You feel like you have to become someone else to keep her happy. This may be the most important, critical warning sign of all. To evaluate any relationship, you must ask yourself one brutally honest question. Can I truly be myself around this person? Do you feel entirely comfortable expressing your opinions, keeping your hobbies, maintaining your lifelong friendships, making your own decisions? Or do you constantly feel like you are performing on a stage? Are you walking on eggshells? Are you continuously editing your personality, your words, and your habits just to avoid conflict and secure her approval? A healthy relationship should allow you to become more of yourself, not less. The right partner does not ask you to abandon your identity. She respects the man you have become through decades of trial, error, and experience. High-value senior men have reached a stage in life where absolute authenticity matters infinitely more than approval. They no longer want relationships that require them to wear a mask. Because after 60, true peace begins with being unapologetically accepted for exactly who you are. And if she cannot accept that man, she does not deserve a seat at his table. To the men watching, your peace is your kingdom. Never let a red flag convince you to lower your drawbridge. If you have ever ignored one of these red flags, only to regret it later, I want to hear your story. Head down to the comments and tell me, which of these 7 red flags do you consider the absolute ultimate deal breaker? Your scars and your wisdom will help guide the men who are still fighting blindly through the storm. If you found value in this deep dive into male psychology, please hit the like button, subscribe to the Sage Academy channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a lesson. Thank you for watching. Until next time, guard your sanctuary and trust your instincts.